Hello guys, this recipe uses one pepper of each type because we don't discriminate here. We're going to chop them up nice and good, put them into a baking tray, and let me tell you about our Italian chicken. So this recipe is a gorgeous, simply really stunning, creamy, salty, savoury, fresh, just beautiful taste of what I call like Italian chicken type thing. It's a one pot wonder. Totally shameless, don't care. And what we're going to do on this, all those peppers we've chopped up, kind of like reasonably thinly, we're just going to chop them all up, bang them in to the tray, cover that with kale, and then pop some olive oil there. I put a little bit too much olive oil in, so I'm just going to give it a quick mix with my hands just to kind of coat it up. Once I've done that, we're going to dice roughly, and I mean really roughly, rougher than a badger's bum, roughly, 2 red onions. I think red onions are really good for this just because they're not as sharp, they're a little bit sweeter, and we're going to pop that in the oven after we've mixed them all together. Once it comes out, it's going to look nice, fresh, just kind of, all the flavours are going to kind of softened and pulled in together. The kale should be a little bit crispy, a little bit charred, because that's going to give a little bit of smoke to the dish, but it shouldn't be burnt. It should be still quite fresh and loose and flimsy as kale is. Then we're just going to season that. I definitely use basil and oregano. I think I've used some other spices. There's your basil, there's your oregano. I think I've used other spices in there as well, maybe thyme, dill, something like that. But keep the flavours nice and light. You don't want to put anything too heavy, too strong or anything like that into this, unless you want that in your dish. But for the time being, at least, we're going to keep it fresh, kind of Mediterranean, Italian, that type of idea. Follow that up with some nice pesto. Again, pesto, don't break the bank with pesto. Look at something that's 80p a pound from Lidl, Aldi, something like that. Don't go crazy. And that is a product placement, by the way. If Lidl or Aldi want to give me a couple of grand, do it. I wouldn't say no. Anyway. Mix that all in. After we get to this stage, this base of the stew's pretty much there. We're just going to add in some chopped tomatoes. Again, I've gone for pulpa. If you're Italian, let me know what that means. I'm guessing like pulp. It's kind of like a passata type idea. It's a little bit more expensive than your chopped tomatoes. I don't think it really matters, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to treat the wonderful viewers of Munch. So yeah, get stuck into that if you want. Anyway, give that all a quick mix up, and then once you've given it a good mix, I'm going to show you how to make some really good garlic bread, because this is a twofer. That's right, you buy one, you get one free. So after we've done all of that, we're just going to mix it all up, put in some salt and pepper. Again, I try not to go too heavy on salt, just because I think it can kill a dish quite quickly. Also, apparently it's really bad for you, but if it needs salt, it needs salt. What can you do? But I do put cheese into it later on with some bread, so I don't think you need it too much. Anyway, next up, chicken thighs, skin on, bone in, whack it in the oven. Because once you've got to that stage, you're really cooking on gas. Now, this is the garlic bread. So this cheese is called like, yikes, it's like scommazza. I'm not entirely sure. It was really cheap from my favourite shop. You guessed it, Lidl. Well, I'm actually an Aldi man, you see. I just live close to a Lidl. But I know it's a tough old life. Anyway, dice up the cheese. Make sure you try it. You don't want to put it in if you've not tried it before, because then you can kind of have an idea of how much you put in. Give it a dice up. Try to lose less cubes than I do here. Again, give it another try. See if it tastes different as a cube. Dear oh dear. Anyway, chop it up, get it nice and diced, and then we're going to move on to the garlic bread. So obviously garlic bread standard, you're going to be looking at just garlic butter, which is just minced garlic mixed with butter, salt, pepper. You can throw in a little bit of parsley. Parsley's really good with garlic bread, or basil maybe. But honestly, I just like to keep it pretty basic, pretty simple. Now, the way I'm about to cut this do not cut it like this. And do not cut it like that either. And whatever you do, do not cut it like that. It is a terrible way of cutting bread. It's my way of cutting bread, but it's a terrible way of cutting bread. Cut the bread properly, and then what you're going to do to get the garlic flavour in, I know there's a couple of different ways. I know some people who toast it and then rub garlic on it, like an actual clove of garlic. I think that's quite a light way of making garlic bread. I personally like my garlic bread with a bit of a punch in it. So what I'm going to do, pretty simple, aioli, I think, aioli, you know what I'm talking about. Put that in, spread it on top, add your cheese, and you can put this in the oven, you can put it in the air fryer, you can deep fry it for all I care, but it comes out, and because the cheese is kind of like mozzarella, it gives you that stringy element, but it's not as liquidy as mozzarella, so it doesn't fall apart when you cook it. So you've got it in the air fryer, ping it in, add a little bit of seasoning to it, and then after that you're good to go. It is honestly a really good garlic bread. I'll show you it now. Just got a little juice on the go there in the background, and the stripy socks are out. Look at that. Oh, someone likes the look of it. But the way it's like kind of crusted like that, the way it's crisped up, those bits were honestly beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, the chicken is done. The reason it's bubbling up like that is because I had the hob on underneath by mistake. Yeah, I was cooking like rice or pasta or whatever I made with this, and yeah, it was a bit of carnage. But make sure you give it a little stir, just to kind of mix the fat that's rendered from those chicken thighs throughout the sauce. You can see as I kind of mix it, it lightens it up a little bit, it's changed the colour a little bit. I don't really know why, but I think that's the fat. Anyway, the chicken that came out of this was the most beautifully soft, juicy, moist chicken you've ever had. I mean, look at that, it's glistening. But yeah, serve over rice, serve over pasta, and enjoy. Please, if you like it, like and subscribe.